Look at the world around you, and you will see a landscape littered with the corpses of great ideas. You will see the wreckage of businesses that were started with passion but abandoned in the fog. You will see the hollow eyes of men who had unlimited potential but lacked the spiritual stamina to see a single thing through to its bloody conclusion. The world is not suffering from a lack of talent, a lack of intelligence, or a lack of opportunity. The world is suffering from a famine of persistence. We live in a culture of the sprint, where everyone wants the podium, but no one wants the miles. We worship the flash, the sudden success, and the viral moment, while we ignore the only law that has ever governed true greatness, the law of the siege. You are here because you have felt the urge to walk away. You are here because the new car smell of your ambition has worn off, and you are now in the dead zone of the middle. You are in that dark, cold space where the initial excitement is gone. The results haven't arrived yet, and the only thing left is the grueling, repetitive weight of the work. You are here because your ego is bruised, and your bank account is screaming, and your friends are whispering that maybe it's time to be realistic. Today, we are going to perform a radical recalibration of your spirit. We are going to dismantle the quitter's logic and replace it with the energy of persistence. I am going to show you why hanging on is a superior talent to starting up, why the universe treats a finisher as a god and a starter as a ghost, and how you can tap into a reservoir of energy that only becomes available when you refuse to surrender. To understand persistence, you must first understand the physics of the breakthrough. Most people view success as a linear climb, a steady incline where effort equals immediate result. But reality is not linear. Reality is a pressure vessel. When you start a mission, you are pumping energy into a closed system. For a long time, nothing seems to happen. The exterior of the vessel looks exactly the same. This is where the masses quit. They say, "I've been working for 6 months and I don't see any change." They don't realize that the pressure is building on the inside. They don't realize that they are 99% of the way to the burst point. Persistence is the ability to keep pumping when there is no visible evidence of progress. It is the understanding that results are a lagging indicator of effort. If you stop pumping now, the pressure drops to zero and you have to start the entire process over. The energy of persistence is the energy of the last inch. It is the cold, calculated knowledge that the mountain is steepest right before the summit. We must also confront the biological siege. Your brain is wired to conserve energy. When you embark on a long-term struggle, your subconscious views it as a famine. It sees you spending time, money, and focus on something that isn't providing an immediate biological return. To protect you, your brain begins to manufacture doubt. It starts to send signals of fatigue. It highlights every failure and minimizes every win. This is a neurochemical sabotage. Your own mind is trying to negotiate you back into the safety of the known. Persistence is the act of overriding your own biology. It is the ability to look at a brain that is screaming stop and saying proceed. It is a declaration of sovereignty over your own gray matter. You are not a victim of your feelings, you are the commander of your mission. The energy of persistence is what happens when the will takes the wheel and tells the emotions to sit down and be silent. The elite man understands the law of the 10th year. We live in a society that sells 6-week transformations and overnight riches. This is a lie designed to keep you a consumer. True power is built in decades, not days. Persistence is the ability to maintain the vibration of success over a period of time that would break a normal human being. It is the consistency of intensity. Most people can be intense for a week. Some can be intense for a month. Only the titans can be intense for a decade. The energy of persistence is a long wave frequency. It doesn't flicker. It burns with the steady blue heat of a star. It understands that time is a filter. The universe uses time to weed out the pretenders, the hobbyists, and the triers. If you can stay in the field longer than anyone else, you win by default because you are the only one left standing. Success is often just a war of attrition against the boredom of the middle. Consider the quantum mechanics of the pivot. Many people confuse persistence with stubbornness. They think persistence means doing the same failing thing over and over. That is not persistence, that is insanity. True persistence is an adjustable force. It is a fixed destination combined with a fluid strategy. It is like a river flowing toward the ocean. If the river hits a rock, it doesn't stop and complain, it goes around it. If it hits a mountain, it carves a canyon. The river is persistent because it never loses sight of the ocean, not because it is obsessed with a specific path. You must develop a molecular persistence, a state where your goal is a part of your DNA, but your methods are as flexible as water. You are persistent in your vision, but you are ruthless in your iteration. The energy of persistence is the energy of the man who will not be denied, regardless of the obstacles. We must also look at the psychology of the plateau. Every great journey is characterized by long periods where nothing seems to move. These are the testing grounds of the soul. These plateaus are designed to see if you actually want the goal or if you just wanted the feeling of being a winner. The average man treats a plateau as a sign to quit. The elite man treats a plateau as a consolidation phase. He knows that his skills are deepening, his character is tempering, and his internal foundation is being reinforced to handle the weight of the coming success. The energy of persistence is the ability to work in the dark. It is the ability to maintain your standards when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, and when the likes have dried up. It is the internal validation that says, I am doing this because of who I am, not because of what the world gives me. This requires a total emotional detox. You must stop being a slave to results. If your mood is determined by your daily metrics, you will never have the persistence to win. Your execution must be emotional. You must move like a machine. You must treat a bad day with the same cold indifference that you treat a good day. You are a contractor of your own destiny, and the contract says you work until the job is done. The energy of persistence is clinical. It is surgical. It is the steady hand of the surgeon who doesn't care if the surgery takes 1 hour or 10. He stays until the heart is 5, beating. You must stop asking, how much longer? And start saying, as long as it takes. That shift in language is the shift from a victim to a victor. The cosmic filter of persistence is also a market filter. In any industry, the top 1% are not necessarily the smartest. They are the most durable. They are the ones who survived the great recessions, the personal scandals, and the technical revolutions. They are the Lindy. Effect in human form? The longer they have been around, the more likely they are to stay around. Persistence creates prestige. It creates a history of reliability that money cannot buy and marketing cannot faking. When you persist, you are building trust with the universe and the marketplace. People don't buy products, they buy certainty. And nothing provides certainty like a man who has been in the same trench, swinging the same hammer for 20 years. The energy of persistence is the vibration of reliability. We must also address the theology of the second wind. There is a phenomenon in long-distance running where the body reaches a point of total collapse. The lungs are on fire, the legs are lead, and the mind is begging for mercy. But if the runner refuses to stop, if he pushes through that wall, a sudden, mysterious surge of energy arrives. This is the second wind. It is a biological and spiritual unlock that only occurs on the other side of total exhaustion. Most people never experience their true power because they quit at the first wall. They think their limit is where the pain starts. They don't realize that the pain is just the gateway to the second wind. The energy of persistence is the energy that is granted to those who have exhausted their own human strength and are now tapping into the infinite strength of the will. To develop this indomitable energy, you must follow the system of the eternal now. Persistence is not about looking at the end of the marathon. It is about looking at the next step. If you look at the 26 miles, you will be overwhelmed. If you look at the next 5 minutes, you can endure. You must learn to micro-size your persistence. You don't persist for a year, you persist for this hour. You don't commit to a career, you commit to this single set of reps. You break the infinite task into finite executions. This prevents decision fatigue and psychological burnout. You become a day trader of your own discipline. You win the now, and you let the years take care of themselves. The energy of persistence is the total presence in the total struggle. You must also master the art of the recovery action. Persistence does not mean you never fail. It means you fail fast and resume instantly. Most people lose their persistence because they let a bad day turn into a bad week. They miss one workout and they feel like a failure. So they quit for a month. This is fragile persistence. You must develop antifragile persistence. You must treat a slip as a data point, not a death sentence. You get back on the horse before the dust has even settled. You realize that momentum is easier to maintain than it is to create. The energy of persistence is the instant restart. It is the zero gap between the mistake and the correction. Consider the historical titans of persistence. Look at Thomas Edison, who conducted 1,000 failed experiments before he found the filament for the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he didn't say he persisted through pain. He said he found 1,000 ways that didn't work. He had reframed the struggle as an investigation. He had removed the ego from the outcome. Look at Abraham Lincoln, who lost almost every election he entered for 30 years before becoming the man who saved the Union. He didn't have hope. He had a definite chief aim that was more real to him than his current defeats. These men weren't lucky, they were insurmountable. They were statues of intent that the storms of life could not move. The energy of persistence is the energy that outlasts the storm. This requires a sacrifice of the social ego. One of the biggest killers of persistence is the fear of looking stupid. You are afraid to keep trying because everyone is watching you fail. You are afraid to stay in the game because people are wondering why you haven't made it yet. You must realize that people are not thinking about you at all. They are too busy worrying about their own comfort. And even if they are watching, their opinion has no weight in the realm of results. You must be willing to be a laughing stock for 5 years so that you can be an inspiration for 50. You must be willing to be wrong in public until you are right in history. The energy of persistence is the indifference to the crowd. You must also understand the law of the vacuum. When you persist in a specific direction with absolute intensity, you create a psychological and energetic vacuum in the marketplace. You are taking up space. You are demanding attention. Eventually, the world yields because it is easier to give you what you want than it is to keep resisting you. Persistence is a pressure tactic. You are grinding down the resistance of the world. You are the drip of water that eventually splits the granite. The granite is not weak, the water is just incessant. You must become incessant. You must become a problem that the universe can only solve by granting your success. To sustain this, you must build a ritual of the eternal return. Every morning, you must rebaptize yourself in your mission. You cannot rely on yesterday's persistence. Yesterday's willpower is gone. Today is a new war. You must look at your goal with the same virgin hunger you had on day one. You must recommit with a total disregard for how much you have already suffered. This is the amnesia of the Titan. He forgets the scars and only sees the shield. He forgets the miles and only sees the mark. The energy of persistence is the perpetual beginning. It is the ability to be first day fresh on year 10 Tuesday. Think about the cost of quitting. If you walk away now, what happens to the energy you have already invested? It vanishes. It becomes sunk cost. You have paid the price of success without receiving the goods. You have endured the pain of the struggle without the reward of the result. Quitting is the worst financial decision you can make with your life. If you stay in the game, the pain has value. It is equity. If you quit, the pain is just waste. You must develop a financial horror of quitting. You must view surrender as the ultimate bankruptcy of the soul. The energy of persistence is the protection of your investment. The world is changing, and the barriers to entry are dropping in every industry. This means that competition is higher than ever. But while the barriers to entry are low, the barriers to staying are higher than ever. Most people are distracted, soft, and addicted to novelty. They are butterfly minds, flitting from one trend to the next. This is your unfair advantage. In a world of short-term thinkers, the long-term man is a king. Your persistence is your moat. It is the defensive wall that keeps the mediocre out of your kingdom. If it were easy to persist, everyone would do it, and the reward would be zero. The fact that it is hard is the guarantee of the value. You must also recognize the vibration of the breakthrough. There is a specific feeling that occurs right before a massive win. It is a feeling of maximum resistance. It is the feeling that everything is going wrong. The staff is quitting, the bank is calling, and the technology is breaking. This is the universe's final exam. It is checking to see if you have truly learned the lesson of the siege. It is looking for one final move of persistence. Most people quit in this final storm, not realizing that the sun is literally minutes away. The energy of persistence is the calm in the final storm. It is the knowing that the intensity of the resistance is a sign of the proximity of the goal. To develop this non-stop energy, you must follow the 6-step persistence command. First, define the non-negotiable end. You cannot persist toward a maybe. You must have a target that is so clear it burns your retinas. Certainty is the fuel of persistence. Second, establish the daily minimum. You must have a floor of execution that you never, under any circumstances, fall below. Even on your worst day, you do the minimum. This keeps the chain of momentum unbroken. Third, kill the timeline. Stop asking when. When you have a timeline, you have a disappointment date. You must commit to the process until the result appears. You are infinite in your patience. Fourth, reframe failure as feedback. You do not lose, you learn. Every no is a correction of your trajectory. You are a scientist of your own success. Fifth, protect the internal dialogue. You must be your own hype man. You must speak to yourself with a terrifying positivity. You must brainwash yourself into believing that your victory is a mathematical certainty. Sixth, seek the company of finishers. You must surround yourself with people who have scars and stories of survival. You must avoid the starters who are always on to the next big thing. You need the vibration of the long game. Look at your goals again. Look at the mission you started. That mission is a living entity that depends on your persistence for its existence. If you quit, that entity dies. You are the life support system of your dreams. You have invested too much to default now. The market is tired, the competition is sleeping, and the universe is watching. This is the moment where potential becomes power. This is the moment where talent becomes legacy. This is the moment where you stop trying and start staying. The energy you need is not outside of you, it is inside the decision to continue. It is a self-generating power. The more you persist, the more persistence you have. You are a perpetual motion machine of the will. Stop looking at the mountain. Look at your feet. One step, then another, until the mountain is under your heels. The world is not moved by the fast, it is moved by the unstoppable.